All right. Welcome to the Sunday Stock Watch. As you could probably tell, I am not at my current setup, but all good because I'm still able to produce my Sunday Stock Watch. Hope you guys had an awesome weekend and a great week in the markets, but it is time to get back to work. It's time to begin. So let's start out with the earnings for this next week because we have a huge week of earnings, and this is what I want to start with. So, first things first, nothing I'm watching for on Monday. We got a couple names reporting on Tuesday, like SoFi pre-market, PayPal pre-market, UPS pre-market that I'm going to be watching for. Nothing really aftermarket, but then Wednesday, aftermarket, we have Meta, we have Microsoft, we have Google, all reporting, and also Starbucks and Carvana. I will mostly be watching for all of these names to report. For Thursday, pre-market, we have Eli Lilly, which I will be watching for. And then after close, we have Amazon, Apple, Coinbase, Reddit. We have MSTR, a stock that you guys know I love to trade, MicroStrategy. And then we also have Riot, which is another crypto name that trades with the cryptos. And then Friday before open, we do have Exxon Mobil that I will be watching for. So huge week of earnings. We have a lot of the Mag 7 reporting this week, mostly on Wednesday and Thursday. So we got a lot going on. Now, for the economic calendar, let's refresh that there. Whoopsies, now I just exited it out. Great. Let's look it back up. All right, so for the economic calendar, I don't believe a lot of, since the government is still shut down, if you were not sure about that or you didn't know about that, the government is still shut down. So we're not going to be seeing a lot of these reports, like durable goods orders, all of that good stuff. But we do still have the interest rate decision on Wednesday. We have Powell speaking on Wednesday. That is going to be coming out, which is going to be really interesting because we don't have a lot to base it off of besides just CPI, which came out on Friday. That's it. That's all we kind of know about right now. And the general consensus going into this interest rate decision on Wednesday is that we are going to get a rate cut. So we'll see. We'll see how that works out, how the market reacts to that. But just know going forward, this next week is going to be extremely volatile. And at 3 p.m. when futures opened, 3 p.m. for me, Pacific timing, NQ, NASDAQ was already up 200 points. So that's huge. That's big. We are just continuing through all-time highs. Besides the interest rate decision, we don't really have a whole lot else for this next week going over CPI data. But again, we still do have all those huge earnings, a lot of the Mag 7 reporting, so really something to watch for. Now, overnight market just opened. So before we take a look at the charts, let's take a look at overnight market. As you can see, Qs is up almost 1%, $5. SPY is up over 0.5%, up $4. We got all these different names up quite a good amount. So that is definitely something to watch for, to look forward for going into tomorrow. A lot of these names are up big. Crypto's up big, so I know MSTR and Coin already up nicely. So let's take a look. Going into this next week, little bit tough regarding what levels I'm watching for, just because now we're at a whole new set of all-time highs. So the nearest place that we have to, the all-time high at 622 that we're currently at on QQQ is 618. So depending on everything that happens this next week, I kind of expect us to either just continue rallying, or if we do see a break below this all-time high that we put in on Friday, that'll be big because we could potentially retrace down a little bit further into that 615 area on QQQ. But again, I'm a little blind when I'm watching QQQ and SPY for right now, just because of these all-time highs that we put in. There's not much data to go off of. But for other names where we do not have all-time highs, Tesla, we have not reached all-time highs. That is something I could better do analysis off of. And I know Tesla's a name a lot of you guys like to trade. And it already reported earnings last week, so we don't have to worry about it reporting earnings going into this coming week. So for a little bit of a better understanding, I also have this chart here, and I'm going to just going to move this over a little bit more, and I'll probably delete this widget right here. So I'm on Robinhood Legend right now, and well, I could actually see the chart update, unlike any other platform, which is nice. So it appears that we kind of opened up and we almost reached 630 on QQQ and then came right back down. But something to be aware of is this huge gap that we have from Friday until today, because we opened up so high. We got good news with Trump and China. They made a deal. Everything's looking up. They're looking good. So the market is happy, and the market is going to continue, higher most likely. But something that we do, again, have to watch for is going to be this gap right here. So we could definitely potentially fill this gap sometime tomorrow or a little bit later, but regarding going into Monday, it is No News Monday, so I do expect most No News Mondays that we just continue higher, or we get some sort of bounce, which has been the playbook for the past, 3 months. Every No News Monday, we just kind of continue higher. So that is kind of what I'm looking at and going forward to. But as we see, again, we don't have really many levels to go off of. And same here with SPY. As we kind of just jumped higher, I will, again, be watching to fill this gap. And there's about over a $5 almost gap between these two areas. So that is something I'd be looking for, expecting us to fill this gap going into tomorrow and then potentially, hopefully, getting a bounce somewhere down here. But again, we are still a ways away from where we closed on Friday. And this is something that this is new to me. We haven't really seen price do something like this and be so bullish, continuing to take out all-time highs over and over again. So again, I'm a little bit blind. I've not seen a market like this in my time of trading, so I'm trying my best, But a couple other names that I can go over that, are not at all-time highs. So we have Tesla here trading up $4, so we're trading almost at 440, which is pretty helpful. So 440 is actually a pretty key area for us on Tesla. This is a level that I'm going to be looking towards. And once we do break above 440, the market does, and Tesla starts to give us a little bit of chop. So that's something to be aware of, that if we do break above 440, we could, potentially go up $5 to $7 and then get a little bit more of a choppy market. So the ideal play I'd want to see is to see Tesla trade back into 335 range, and then get a bounce from there, continue up to 440 and above 440. So that's what I'm going to be looking at this next week for the setup on Tesla. Now, for something like MSTR and Coinbase, they are reporting on Thursday, both of them, I believe. Let me just double check that. Yes, so both are reporting on Thursday. But MSTR is already up almost above 300. Probably by now it's above 300. So I'm going to be looking for a nice hold above 304 area. So right here, this 304 area. And I really would love just to see MSTR rip up into 310 to, 312 range. That's sort of the play I'm looking forward to. And it also depends heavily on Bitcoin, if Bitcoin can continue up from here. If we could break above 115 and actually hold that instead of rejecting it, that is going to be key for those levels on MSTR. Now, if Bitcoin goes up into 115 and rejects that area, that's not a good look, and we might not, see MSTR give us the move that we want. So that is a key thing to watch for. You have to be watching for that. Now, with Coinbase, we're up another $10. Once again, let me just make sure we're up $15. So we're almost at 370. So quite the move there. So we're almost up here at this area and above 370, which if we can get a nice hold above 370, see Bitcoin continue higher, then I would love to see a nice bounce into that 385 area. Coinbase could easily take that out in a singular day. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something like that going forward into tomorrow. But again, keep in mind we need to see Bitcoin above 115. Now, for a couple other names that, well, everything that I watch is really reporting this week, so it's making it a little bit more difficult, but let's check on Nvidia real quick. So Nvidia looks to be, we're not at all-time highs on Nvidia. Yeah, so we're not at all-time highs on Nvidia, so honestly, if we could see this nice break above 190 area, we could definitely continue to that all-time high, and then I'd be careful once we get around that all-time high for a reject potentially. But that is one setup that I'm going to be looking for going into this next week, since Nvidia is also not reporting, which is good news. But other than that, I'll also go over Circle, and that'll be the last stock, because again, this week, kind of blindsided by it, kind of going in with a little bit of a blind eye, and it really just depends. So Circle is currently up to 146 right now. So if we can continue to hold above 145, which is a key level for Circle, I would love to see us reach up to 150, even potentially to 155 going into tomorrow. But again, everything really depends on Bitcoin. These names depend on Bitcoin, Coinbase, MSTR, and Circle. Biggest factor is Bitcoin. We need to get above 115 and not reject it on Bitcoin. We need to see strength there to see these names rally and continue higher. If not, I don't expect a hard reject from these names, but I will be expecting a little bit more chop and probably not any great setups. So that is the Sunday stock watch for this week. I'm sorry, it's a little bit shorter. But as you, again, know, we're reporting so many names, so I'm not going to really be trading those names because their contracts are just going to be more expensive. They're not really going to give us great setups leading into their earnings. After earnings, they may give us a good setup the next day. But again, it really just depends on what happens. So please be careful this next week. We have FOMC, lots of Mag 7 names, lots of important names that are not just Mag 7 reporting this week. Be aware. Do not trade through earnings, and good luck. If you have any questions, make sure to DM me on Instagram. And if you want to join the Discord, which is now open again, I will link it in the description, so you can make sure to join there. But anyways, subscribe for more, and I will see you all later.